Ensuring food security through sectors such as agriculture, alleviating poverty through job creation, and of course solving infrastructural bottlenecks in sectors such as power. These are all key to the transformation of Delta State. But what really is the state doing to solve these issues? Let's find out. Delta State is primarily an agrarian state, with about 75% of its population dependent on agriculture for their livelihoods, making it key to the development of the state. Delta is surrounded by freshwater and mangrove swamps and rainforests, making it a well-endowed ecosystem that can sustain a wide variety of crops, lumber, agricultural trees, and several species of freshwater fish. However, oil spills that continue to plague the region have slowly poisoned the water and destroyed vegetation and agricultural land through the contamination of groundwater and soil. And the recent floods in the state only worsen the situation.
It affected our crop farmers, because those already planted destroyed what they've planted. And for livestock farmers, they lost their livestock. The poultry, they lost their beds. They lost their layers. For piggery, they lost. We have some few people that, at least one cattle farmer lost his cattle, and the goat farmers, even snairy, they all washed off. And therefore, it's a great loss to us. And apart from that, there was also structural damage.
With the future of agriculture and food security in the state in jeopardy, the government has had to step in to clean up and revive the sector by supporting local farmers through microcredit schemes, distribution of fertilizers, planting materials and seeds, and the renovation and construction of farms.
We have already put in place our program, also to supplement by giving them seedlings, cassava cuttings, maize seedlings, vegetables, yam seedlings, so that those that have lost their seedlings, they can get it back. And I can assure you that there will not be food shortage. Once we can procure these seedlings and distribute to the farmers, we will not be food shortage. From our assessment and our field tour, I discovered that those that have already planted, the thing is germinating well. The state government at a point have also introduced youth empowerment through agriculture. We have brought in a lot of youth. Over 950 youth have been trained, and most of them are still in the business, or various business of agriculture. That's another way we encourage production of agriculture.
Adopting the Singapore model, where innovative economic planning is encouraged by a free market without putting in place the necessary infrastructure, will be almost impossible if Delta does not address the infrastructural deficits that exist in the state today. The reality is that access to basic necessities like constant power, efficient water systems, and proper roads, schools, and hospitals are not readily available to the people of Delta State. The state government promises that this will all change by 2015 with the creation of a unique ministry, the Directorate of Special Infrastructure, with a mandate to fast-track development in specific projects in the transport, health, education, and social sectors.
We have what I call the SMART goals. We have very specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound goals. So you see us doing projects in the health sector, the transport sector, the educational sector, housing, and works.
But without proper funding, many of these projects may not meet the 2015 deadline. To eliminate the possibility of this happening, the state sourced for funds through a 50 billion naira bond launched in September 2011.
These projects are funded by the government, and some are funded by the bond market. Delta State went to the bond market to take out a bond last year, and that was one of the sources of funding as well. They were here a couple of days ago, the DGSEC, CBN governor. They saw some of the projects that we're carrying out.
The ministry has only been around for a year, but it has made some obvious headway in these key sectors. For example, the education sector has seen a total rehabilitation of educational institutions and the construction of new model primary schools and schools for physically challenged children. St. Patrick's is one of these model schools that will open during the course of next year. At the tertiary level, the state is rebuilding whole institutions such as this Polytechnic College, located in the outskirts of the state capital, where classrooms are now big enough to accommodate a growing student population and areas of study.
All these projects, by the grace of God, the educational projects will all be completed before 2015. Actually, what His Excellency is doing is that there's a plan, and he's executing them in batches. Right now you can see we've done the first batch of schools. We are scoping for batch 2. We'll go to batch 3 and we'll continue this race. We're actually racing to the finish line. He's going to continue that to 2015. These schools generally take about 6 months, max 1 year to complete, and so the educational infrastructure will be completed.
The ministry is also complementing the work in areas such as transport, through the construction of several massive road projects that will link rural towns to the major business hubs and open up the surrounding communities to economic activities. Undeniably, the transport sector will play a key role in boosting commercial activities around the state, the neighboring regions, and with the rest of the world. Already, the state capital connects west, east, and northern Nigeria via the river Niger to the north, and the east and west of the country via the Asaba-Niger Bridge, features that already complement the federally run ports in Warri. But the state finally completed the transport equation with the conclusion of the first phase of the Asaba International Airport, which will include a cargo terminal once the project is complete.
The control tower is completed. The fire section is almost at the completion end. And of course, the fire category here is high. At the terminal building, we've got the escalators there now. We saw them the other day. And then the lifts are on. The commercial complex, where we have a lot of the commercial activities like shops, and that one's almost complete.
The immediate impact of this project is an increase in the amount of commercial activity flowing in from surrounding regions through Delta State, making it important to improve intrastate and city transport. To facilitate the loading and offloading of freight coming in from surrounding states, the government is constructing jetties along the waterfronts. Adopting a similar models used in other states in the country, the Delta State government is also working on reducing informal transport systems such as the reckless motorbikes called Okada, and introducing mass transit schemes that include new buses and tricycles and school shuttles.
As of today, we have 605 Toyota Hiace buses. We have 50 Marco Polo buses, which we start using from the 1st of November 2012. We have 1,250 tricycles in circulation, and we've just taken delivery of another 1,300, which are still undergoing assemblage and branding. The government owns the buses, but the application, the running of the buses are done by private individuals, private companies, in the form of public-private partnership, and they pay back to the government. And again, because we own the buses, we are now regulating the price. We are now regulating the maintenance. We are now regulating what the bus should be.
Similar infrastructural changes are taking place in the health sector, where the rehabilitation of hospitals is underway and 2 maternal and child healthcare centers are in the process of completion. These projects will complement the state's free maternal health and under 5 healthcare program and the rural health scheme.
The maternal mortality rate, which is an index, an economic index of measuring a state or a country, has also improved tremendously. When we came in, the figures were 456 deaths for every 100,000 pregnant stroke woman delivery. But today, it's not even today as I speak with you. 1 year ago, a year ago, as of November 26, 2011, the figure has fallen to 221 for every 100,000 pregnancy or deliveries. This is about 48% reduction in maternal mortality rate.
From the point of booking or registration for antenatal clinic, everything is free. Up till the point you deliver, even if you have to deliver by cesarean section, is also free. And then for those of them who develop complications in the postpartum period, that's after delivery, up to 6 weeks after delivery, their treatment, their care, their management is also free. Those who have ectopic pregnancy, that's abnormal pregnancy outside the uterus, The management, which essentially to a very large extent in this environment is surgery, is also free. Now when the women come in for booking clinics, which is on Wednesdays, just like today, they are recruited into the program, they do their investigations, and then subsequently after that, they are managed on a regular basis when they come for routine antenatal clinic. And all this, it's absolutely free.
However, the efficiency of these projects is hinged on the state solving the massive deficiency it is currently experiencing in its power sector. Though the state has considerable gas reserves, only about 10% of the 1,008 megawatts of electricity required to run the state is available from the national grid. In fact, most of its rural communities do not have any power supply, caused by an absence of transmission infrastructure in some parts of the state. The state has intervened by purchasing transformers and distributing them across the state. However, the people of Delta are still waiting on its IPP project, which will combine gas and diesel to be finalized.
The challenge we've had all along is that we have other plants. That is, the federal government has other plants in Delta. We have the Ogorode plant, we have the Ughelli plant, we have the Okpaye plant. All these ones generate power from Delta, but they go straight to the national grid, and little or nothing is stepped down in Delta State. But the agreement with this national independent power plant is that at least some of them will come to Delta State. So that's on the federal government side. Then on our own side too, we've started our own independent power plant, which initially will generate between 100 and 120 megawatts. Because it is modular, we can gradually step it up to 450 megawatts, which combined with what is coming from the federal government will just be enough. Because what we did was to first of all get a generational license from the federal government. That means what we are generating, we can utilize it within the state. We bought a lot of transformers, a lot of transformers, from the big ones to the very small ones, which we're installing in the part. Hopefully, with all these ones being completed, it will improve the power supply of the state tremendously.
But despite its infrastructural setbacks, the state is quickly creating a reputation for itself as a hub for business tourism. Delta has played host to some of the major private sector and government conferences, including the recent Capital Market Forum put together by the Securities and Exchange Commission and the South-South Economic Summit. As a result, the state is seeing interest from major five-star hotels like the Hilton and Protea hotels. In the state's economic center, Warri, the state government has partnered with Sarna PFM Resorts in the construction of a massive leisure park.
We are building a theme park, a resort park, with roller coasters, water features, hotels, residential areas, villas. And in order to do that on this land, we've got to reclaim with sand a lot of the area that you see between here and the trees in the background, just to get more area to build on. The land filling, we started in September. We've been planning it from the beginning of the year, but we actually started dredging at the beginning of September. And what you see now is the borrow pit is complete, and now we're starting with a suction cutter dredger, and we're starting pumping of the sand fill onto the reclamation area here. Like with any project, the planning takes as long as the actual construction. So, and the implementation of the project is finding finance, doing all the planning, getting all the structures in place, buying the land, compensation for the community. We've had to build this bridge because before that there was currently no access to this area from from Warri and the Efferent side. So it's getting all of that done before we can actually start with the main development.
Delta State's infrastructural development plan in its non-oil sectors is slowly but surely becoming a reality for the people of Delta State. It is obvious that its projects will create thousands of jobs for the local populace, an area that will ensure the state will not make past mistakes again. With projects such as the Asaba International Airport, Delta State seems to be well on its way to boosting its non-oil sector. But of course, the race to the finish line has just begun. Now, that's all we have for you in this edition of Delta Beyond Oil. Of course, feel free to send us your comments and your questions through our Twitter handle at Delta Beyond Oil or on our Facebook page, Delta Beyond Oil. Till next time, I'm Uche Okoronko. Goodbye.